Artists are afraid that the art industry is dying. AI is stealing our creativity, and there's a lack of jobs. So I'm here to give you ways to thrive in the current environment. The reality is that artists are the art industry, not the studios they work for. And that means that every single piece of art you make matters, and that everything that you create can make a difference in this next movement of art. But the problem for most of us artists is that we don't have the time or the creativity to push back. We're drained and we're exhausted. But there is a really specific psychological reason as to why. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about this trap and give you practical insights and steps to take back your time, find work, and start generating an income. I'm Benaya with Brush Sauce Studios, and it's thanks to your support on Patreon that we're able to create extra content like this. So let's dive in. So we're just going to start by talking about this trap. You gotta understand that most of us fall in love with art by consuming it first. We're hardwired to keep consuming. Games, movies, TikToks, tutorials, endless inspiration. Anything that feels like it keeps us going. But psychologically, that's the biggest creativity killer. And this generation is really the first to experience consuming content on this level. Science shows the more you consume, the harder it is to create. The more you consume, the more likely you are to not be able to come up with creative solutions to big problems. So what's distracting us most? And the answer, realistically, for a lot of us is our phone. For most people, that's the biggest block in your path between reigniting your creativity and staying complacent. The average person spends between 4 to 6 hours a day on their phone. That's just on your phone. That's not including time spent watching Netflix or consuming other forms of media like YouTube. Realistically, if you spent that time creating instead of scrolling and consuming, you'd be unstoppable. Think about all that time taken back, and you spent that towards figuring out how to achieve your goals. People feel inspired when they consume, but unfortunately, it's just a scientific fact that kills your creativity. The reason this happens is virtually your brain always picks the easy route. Scrolling feels better and easier in the moment than spending all day creating something. And even when we do draw all day, a lot of the time isn't really spent creating. It's spent on Pinterest, finding reference, YouTube, watching tutorials, and other kinds of fake productivity. I know we all do this. Think about this. If a piece takes you 6 hours to finish, that wasted phone time could equal 7 finished pieces in a week, literally just by replacing the brain-melting things you consume on the regular. But here's the sneaky part. Most of the time, it doesn't feel like the things you're consuming are hurting you. Tutorials, YouTube, Pinterest boards, they trick you into feeling productive. The feeling of watching a tutorial on YouTube or collecting reference for your next project oftentimes feels like significant progress towards your goals, because inspiration is something that admittedly you do need to begin. The problem is that inspiration is addictive. The best part of the creative process is the part where you get inspired. And the hard part is when you're in the middle of your project. You want to give up and you want that feeling of inspiration once again. So you go straight back to the inspiring media. But the reality about those YouTube tutorials or finding inspiration is that watching or observing isn't learning. Doing is learning. Think about it. You can't suddenly draw with your left hand just because you know how to with your right. You have to practice. And that's irrefutable proof that knowledge alone means nothing if you don't act on it. It was all about knowledge for the artist. Then by simply watching a course, anyone could become a master painter. We know this is very far from the truth. But the reason you feel like you're progressing is because of dopamine. Endless tutorials can give you the illusion of progress because they spike the art dopamine that you did something valuable for your career. In reality, if you watch a tutorial and you don't act on it, you're probably forgotten the whole thing. One of my favorite things about myself is that I know how to draw like Kim Jong-gi, but in no way, shape, or form am I able to. I've personally watched probably hundreds of hours of Kim Jong-gi doing incredible work. I've watched all his lectures and I've heard about how he thinks about drawing. But I spent that time watching him draw and very little amount of that time actually trying to draw like he does. And I am very, very far away from being able to draw in any way like he does. So if you're constantly watching tutorials or trying to stay up to date with fear-mongering industry YouTubers, just stop. You're wasting your time. Let me reiterate, it's not just about wasted time. Overloading on content fries your brain. It makes it harder to enjoy creating at all. Here's the science. If you put a random person in a room with just a pen and paper, even if they hate drawing, they will draw. But put them in a room with a computer, phone, or endless distraction, and they will do nothing. The point is simple. Remove the phone, remove the distractions, and you will create. You'll start trying to creatively problem solve. And in a year, with all of your effort being spent trying to solve the biggest problems in your creative career, there's a very high chance that you will solve it. All of this isn't just about personal growth. You are the art industry, and everything you create can change it. That means that it is incredibly valuable if you creatively problem solve how to get yourself into the industry and help others follow your footsteps. I feel like I might sound like a grandma saying it's your phone, but let's be real. The stats don't lie. We're spending hours every day scrolling, binging, consuming, and wasting time we could be using to create amazing things on our own. Every hour you spend creating builds momentum, skills, and influence. Every hour spent consuming instead stalls you, and since it stalls you, it stalls the industry. So the work you make matters not just for you, but for the entire art world. Before I give you practical steps, ask yourself this. Do you really want to create, or do you just want comfort? All those hours scrolling, watching tutorials, staying inspired, that's comfort. It feels good, but it doesn't make you better. If you want to make art seriously, you have to value meaning over comfort. You have to choose creation over consumption, even when it's hard. So at the beginning of this video, I told you I would give you practical insights and steps to take back your time and find work. These steps all relate to what we've been talking about, and they're the three biggest things I think you can do or think about to make a change based on this culture of distraction. So the first step I want to share is one you've probably heard before, but I think the conversation so far makes this especially relevant, and that is to carry a pocket sketchbook. Whenever you're tempted to scroll, draw instead. Capture ideas, sketch people, doodle anything. Constant practice beats passive consumption every time. We know that consumption is linked to a lack of creativity, but what we also know is that social media is linked to things like anxiety. So scrolling may feel like a break for your brain. If you start to replace it with drawing and with doing something creative, you'll quickly find more peace of mind within that. The incredible thing is that with this pocket sketchbook, you have the base composition of so many different scenes and so many different things that you can draw on as you expand your visual library. The second step is to create things you want to see constantly. Don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect brief, or the perfect inspiration. The act of creating itself builds skill, momentum, and your voice. Stop creating just for the industry and start creating for you. Build your skills, your momentum, and your audience for your growth and not just to feed someone else's machine. Something very important to consider here, especially if you're someone who's in the middle of building a portfolio for a specific kind of job, is that if you don't lean into the fun parts of art, into the types of art that make you have a drive to create, then slowly you'll burn out. This constantly creating what you want to see mindset will keep you inspired all the time. This way, your inspiration doesn't actually need to come from anywhere externally to yourself, but can instead come from the things that you make and bring into existence. I think the most important step, and the last step here, is to accept the full reality of being an artist. This really is the key in the modern art world. Art creation is the best part of being an artist. Even if you work for a studio, you're still working in a business. Networking, marketing, pitching ideas, collaborating, learning new tools. If you haven't embraced those other sides yet, that's something you need to do. The dream that you can just draw and everything else will magically happen is not real. Reality is creating your art and building your path forward. So embracing the full reality of being an artist means to recognize that there are things out there, such as AI, that may make things difficult at points, but also realizing that artists are built to creatively problem solve. The amazing thing is that your skill set is optimally designed to figure this out. The reason that every single artist you talk to and you ask about their story, you ask about how they got into the industry, is always so unique is because artists never solve things the same way. You need to be willing to take things into your own hands a little bit. What worked for me exactly won't work for somebody else. The position that I found myself in can't be replicated exactly, because everything happens from doing a lot of work, pursuing what you're trying to do, and then building connections and building friends, building an audience, building a name for yourself, and so many different things that you might not initially expect to take off do. I think the problem is that a lot of artists just don't put themselves out there. Instead, they just create and they hope the rest will happen. I know when I graduated college, I started creating my portfolio and I was feeling like it's been difficult because I hadn't gotten a job, but in reality, I'd only ever applied to one job. And I know that this is very similar for a lot of artists because they never feel ready. That never feeling ready isn't accepting the full reality of being an artist, because accepting the full reality of being an artist means that you know that you'll never feel ready. You understand that imposter syndrome will last your whole career. You understand that you always feel outclassed by other people around you. These things are feelings that you'll have. So you have to look at it from a broader perspective, see where you're at, and be confident to just take the next step forward. And if you embrace every side of being an artist, I promise you that you will make incredible progress. And I can guarantee you that if you reject important aspects of being an artist, like marketing your art or like building connections, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to see any change. So at the beginning of this video, I promised to tell you guys how to start making an income as an artist. And this is it. To make an income as an artist, you need to embrace social media. Learn it, leverage it,
but don't waste time on it.
Use those platforms to show your work and connect. If you grow your own audience, you will succeed. I basically can guarantee that if you commit and do this for a year and you are skilled, that you will find success. This happened for me. There was 8 months of nothing, just grinding, doing the same thing with no progress, and then it all suddenly clicked. Just consistent effort, consistent improvement, and trying to learn the platforms to actually reach a broader audience helped me to find that success. And here's a big idea I want to leave you with. Imagine if artists actually banded together. If we pooled our time and effort, we could create projects that would actually change the industry as a whole. And in fact, we see this happening with things like Silksong. Just a team of 3 people are able to create something that makes wave. When artists collaborate and treat their work like both art and business, everyone benefits. You grow your skills, you network, and your opportunities and the whole art world thrives because of it. This isn't just a pipe dream, and the first steps is just to start creating. So the industry isn't dying because of AI or because of a lack of jobs. Just replace distraction with creativity. Take back your time and you will become more creative and you will improve fast. Us artists are the industry, not the studios. Art right now lives and dies with the artist. That's about it.